I've been fighting this and talking about this my entire broadcasting career. And nothing's changed in 35 years. It just doesn't make sense. Now, we're going to make some money and we're going to start rattling some cages here. And there's only one guy that I know. Hey, let me say this. You get a Greek and a Paisan together, what do you get? Let me see here. That's a hell of a cannoli. That to me, okay, that's a hero. That's what I'm saying there. Okay? That's what I like. That's the gyro and the cannoli. That's the new name of it. Joe Kraus. Okay, the gyro and the cannoli. Let's bring on Philly Godfather.
You got me cracking. You could catch a couple felonies with a Greek and an Italian.
Oh, man. Hey, all law enforcement people, please disregard that comment. Hey, by the way, we've changed our way, just so you know. Okay.
Oh, man.
Oh, but hey, man. So how well have you been doing this year, man, on the street here, helping people make some dough and make some car payments?
Yeah, the NFL has been lights out. I mean, I'm close to 70% on the year in the NFL. College football was a little choppy. On your show, I can't lose. So thank God everyone that's watching the show and all the college football selections we've given out. It's been a great year on your show. But to be honest, college football has been a little tougher this season, but NFL's been lights out.
Man, you've been killing it, absolutely. Hey, before I get into talking a little bit about the games this weekend, let me ask you this. Do you think an NFL head football coach, do you think the record's more tied to the quarterback, or do you think the record's more tied to the head coach?
I mean, it's so hard to win a Super Bowl without a great quarterback. You can get there. Lots of, mediocre quarterbacks got there. Trent Dilfer completed 12 passes and won a Super Bowl. But that's, that don't happen often. In this day and age, you need a great quarterback to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think you need a quarterback more than anything.
Now, I want to play a game with you here. Take Jalen Hurts out of the conversation in the NFC side. Name me the 5 top quarterbacks in the NFC. Not name Jalen Hurts.
You got an old Matt Stafford. He's banged up.
Okay, hold on. They have to be active. Matt Stafford.
All right. Man, it's tough. Dak's okay. He gets brain cramps, but he's okay. Man, it's tough. It's tough. A lot of mediocre quarterbacks. Purdy, I don't know if he can beat you in the playoffs against the better quarterbacks, but he's got a great team around him. He's got some great numbers. Do you throw him in there this season? You might. He's got a lot of weapons. Who else you got? NFC's kind of weak. Sam Howell. You got Danny Dimes is done.
You can't name 5. Jared Goff?
Jared Goff's still pretty good.
No, I'm with it. I think he's probably the second best quarterback in the conference this year.
And Gino's Gino. I mean, you don't know what you get with him come playoff time. You know what? Kyler Murray, he came back last week, and I had bet against him. And he can run around like a maniac out there and make things happen. And you might want to throw him in there, top 5. But there's no one that's going to scare you to death.
Here's where I'm going here about Monday night's game. So let's do the AFC. Mahomes. And I'm doing that. Lamar Jackson. Allen. Herbert. Lawrence. Stroud. I could go down the list. My point is this. Jalen Hurts has the least amount of resistance to get to the NFC title game every year, because it's not that he doesn't play good teams. He plays shitty quarterbacks. I mean, I don't believe the Eagles would be 8-1 in the AFC.
No, tough conference. But then again, Listen, people were talking smack about the Eagles last year having the easiest schedule and this and that, but when they got to the Super Bowl, I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs. So as mediocre as some of their metrics may look, as bad as their pass defense has looked, I mean, they did get to the Super Bowl last year and almost beat Kansas City with arguably the best coach in the NFL and Andy Reid, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes. So I know we knock them, each and every week, but they're getting the job done. So they're still dangerous.
How about this? Kansas City, to this game on Monday, combined record, played 4 playoff teams, 40-35. They've played Goff, Lawrence, Wilson, Herbert, and Tua. The Eagles have a 35-40 record right now, and they've played Cousins, Tua, Dak. You know what? I don't have a problem putting Sam Howell in there. He's leading the NFL in passing yards. He's having a really good year.
I think that's got a lot to do with Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator.
I do too.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, who do you think is more prepared for that game on Monday night? Do you think it's the Eagles, or do you think it's the Chiefs having played tougher? By the way, also look at this too. Godfather, check it out. Now that Denver game that they lost to in Denver, that thing don't look that bad right now.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's playing some good football. The Chiefs defensively are the better team, let's be honest. I think they're ranked 4th in opponent yards per play, the 3rd in opponent yards per pass. So that's going to give Jalen Hurts some problems here. But there's supposed to be some weather, some wind. If you see some bad weather and wind, that'll even it out. In the passing game, it'll make it harder for Mahomes to pass the ball, and the Eagles will have a better shot. So to me, it all depends on how bad the weather is Monday night. If it's really windy, you got an Eagles team that can run the ball down your throat. They can impose your will. They got one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And if you're getting anything over a field goal, I think the game's a coin flip, but we're going to have to wait to see what the weather's like. But if weather isn't a factor, I mean, I'm leaning towards Kansas City. They're the better team, better coach team, better quarterback, better defense. Now, their one weakness is stopping the run this season, and that's something the Eagles can do. But other than that, this Kansas City Chiefs team is built to go deep in the playoffs again.
So you're taking KC in this game Monday night.
Depends on the weather. Yeah, I'm going to wait. Right now, anything under a field goal, I kind of like Kansas City. Now it is the square side. I think last I checked, like 70% of the tickets.
Is it 2.5 they're favored by?
Yeah,
KC?
2.5 point favorites. Yeah, so a lot of the public's bet in Kansas City. I never want to be on the public side, even though they win 50% of the time. And it is Kansas City. It's hard to beat KC and KC. I mean, they're going to be prepared. This is a big game for both teams. I know there's some revenge from the Super Bowl for the Birds here. But I'm going to wait closer to game time to see what the weather's like, because I think that could swing my opinion on this matchup.
Well, here, let me throw this last question at you for this game on Monday. Do you think that the Philadelphia Eagles have closed the gap on the Kansas City Chiefs from 9 months ago? Do you think they've closed the gap to where you look at the team now and you think that they're better than what they had in that Super Bowl? And I'm going to give you some more stats. In that Super Bowl, in the first half, they had 10 designed run plays that netted 52 yards. Now, they put the smoke screen out today that they took the knee brace off. So they threw that out there like they're going to potentially run here. But to me, the key component is this. They had 158 yards rushing, and I'm talking Kansas City. I don't know if Kansas City is going to duplicate that, putting 158 against the Birds on Monday, because they have improved with Carter and Davis. So, but the question comes back, do you think they've closed the gap on Kansas City with this team, this current you're looking at right now?
It's kind of weird because Kansas City's offense isn't as good as last year, but their defense is better. This Eagles pass defense, one of the, ranked 20th in opponent yards per pass attempt. So a guy like Mahomes can really chew you up. The other thing people don't talk about in that Super Bowl was it was a real slippery field. And when you got those edge rushers coming in, they were slipping and sliding. When you got an interior pass rush that's stronger, you're not going to fall down as much. And we saw that in the Super Bowl on that field. It was so wet. It was so slippery. So that, to me, that kind of gave Kansas City a small edge because the Eagles pass rush was lights out last year. I mean, they were breaking all kinds of records. They have 70 sacks on the season, second best to like the 85 Bears. So you're not going to be playing on a slippery field. But again, weather and field conditions, people don't realize this. And you've played football; it's huge. It's huge. I know both teams will play on the same field, but the strengths on both teams are different, and the weaknesses on both teams are different. So you really got to pay attention to weather, field conditions, and it's tough to call who got better and who got worse. If anything, I think the Chiefs got a little better than the Eagles did this year.
How about this? Don't you think both teams are built for weather?
Yeah, they can both run the ball. Andy Reid, you're not gonna outsmart him.
No, especially in the last 2 games, because check this out. The Eagles faced a team that was round 20th in running the ball, and they ran the ball almost for 400 yards in both games against them combined.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would have ever thought. Now, they weren't as good as they are now. They were 22nd and 21, and last year they got all the way up to 16th. Now they're 1. So that is where they've closed the gap, I think. It's right there.
I mean, the Eagles' offense isn't as good as last year. They scored more points than any NFL team in history in the first half of games last season, and they're not doing that this year. They're ranked 11th in yards per play on offense. They're still stacked. Jalen Hurts, he's underperformed against some of the better pass defenses. You saw what the Cowboys did to him. He threw for 207. His projected total by odds makers was closer to 250 in that game, and he underperformed by 40 yards. Against the Jets, he didn't look too great. They've been really lucky. They got the 7th best point differential in the NFL. And, eventually your luck runs out. But this week, I think they match up well. And like I said, depending on the weather, that'll sway my opinion on who to bet this game.
Who has more of passing yards in this game on Monday, Mahomes or Hurts?
Oh,
and by the way, just so you know for context, Jalen's outpassed him in 2 games. That they've played head-to-head the last 2 years.
I think Mahomes does. Yeah. Chiefs
over 250?
I don't know. Like, if it's real windy, they're expecting wind gusts of 35 miles an hour. So you really got to pick. Like, if the wind's fine, I'd go over 250 all day. Like, it's a no-brainer for me. And I'd go under on Hurts' passing yards because the Chiefs' pass defense, one of the best in the NFL.
Would you agree that the key in that game is going to be who runs the ball the best in that game? Because, again, I don't really think Kansas City, but Kansas City's going to have to get at least over a C note to keep that third and short and play action going, to keep them honest, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's usually the case in every NFL game.
Yep.
The team that outrushes their opponent usually wins the game like 80% of the time. So, I know it's a pass league, but when you look at the metrics, the team that outrushes their opponent wins the game 8 out of 10 times. So, it is what it is.
Chicago at Detroit. You know what? These are the kind of games you get a good sense of what kind of team and what kind of medal potential contender is, because if they play down to their competition, right, then you kind of get nervous about them as they're getting closer to the finish line here. Is that kind of what you look at in a game like this? Because Chicago, from what I understand, Justin Fields is playing too.
Yeah, he's playing. And Detroit, came down last possession last week. So that takes a little bit out of you the following week, I think. They went 41-38 against the Chargers. It was a big game, big emotional game. It was a tight game. Came down to the final possession. If you grab the +10 early on the Bears, I think it's a great bet. Divisional game. These teams know each other like the back of their hand. But now it's getting closer to 7. It's at 7.5. If it gets to 7, you might look to tease the lines down to like -1. I'm not looking to bet the game. I'm not looking to lay 7.5 because 7 is such a key number in the NFL. And the only number better, more key than 7 is 3. So if you can get below 7 and 3 and tie in the lines in a teaser, I think it'll cash the ticket for you.
This game looks a little more interesting now. And now that Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson are out, this Arizona-Houston has a shot now to be a playoff team because of what's going on with Cincinnati and with Cleveland now. And now you get Kyler Murray back. They got Connor back too. I'll tell you what, I think Arizona could go in there against that pass defense that the Texans has. This could be an interesting ball game. I'm going to keep an eye on this thing.
Yeah, the line went from 5 down to 4. Now it's back up to 6. So
wow.
Yeah, Texans are favored by I think 6. And to be honest, Houston might be the best team in the AFC South. I know the Jags have a better record, but the Texans have a better point differential on the season. They've beaten the Jags this year. They beat the Saints. Who else they beat? They beat the Steelers. They beat the Bengals. This Texans team with that quarterback, they're capable of beating anyone, and they got a outside shot of making the playoffs. So this is a tough matchup. But like I said, Kyler Murray came back. Cardinals had lost 6 straight, and all of a sudden, they come out on top with him. It's tough defending a guy that can run like that, when he's playing quarterback and elude that pass rush that they have. I think this is a shootout. I kind of like the over here, over 47. And if the game gets to 7, I'll probably look to take Arizona plus 7, man. It's a big number. And who are the Texans to lay 7? They're still a young team. They still might make some mistakes. And they've been playing some great football. But Kyler Murray's a veteran. And I think Arizona can stay within that 7-point spread. And I think they put up a lot of points this week, over 47.
Have you ever seen a football team like the Cowboys that have had so many gigantic point spreads in 1 year? I mean, I don't even know what the Carolina point spread is now. Dallas at Carolina. I mean, is it over 10?
Yeah, it's up to 10.5, 11 in some spots.
Did they last week have 16?
Well, it was 17.5, I think it was against the Giants.
So last 2 weeks they've had 17.5 and 10. Hey, holy!
They're playing bad teams. They're playing bad teams, and the Cowboys like to beat up on bad teams on the little step brothers. They beat them up. But when it comes to beating the better teams, they've had some issues this year. It's a big number. I'm not looking to take Carolina here, even though their defense is slightly better than mediocre. It's in Carolina. It's a big number. If I could have taken anything under 10, I might have looked to take the Dallas. But I'm not looking to bet this game right now. It's a big number in the NFL, man. 10.5 is a big number on the road to cover.
Okay, Chargers at Green Bay. Green Bay's waved the white flag here a little bit, but
yeah, I think so.
Now with like we said about Cleveland, though, and the Bengals, this pushes the Chargers into a position for a playoff spot here. Are you buying the Chargers this year to potentially make the playoffs? And is this game here in Green Bay? They've got to go up to Lambeau.
Yeah, there's no weather in Green Bay. I checked the weather, so that's big for a team like the Chargers. I mean, they got the better point differential on the year. They got the better team. I don't know if they got the better coach or not. Both coaches are a little suspect to me. But they do, like you said, they got an outside shot of making the playoffs. Packers defense is really good this year, but they're banged up. They're missing like 3 guys. They might not play. They're questionable, and they're key components on that defensive side of the ball. So they're a little banged up on the defensive side. Chargers coming off a loss. It seems like every game the Chargers play is a rerun of the previous game. Comes down to last possession, they lose by a field goal. It's mind-boggling how many of these games they've lost over the last couple of years with such a great quarterback and such a great team. It really boggles your mind, like I said. But I think they get the job done here. Anything under a field goal like the Chargers, I think they win the game, even though it is the public side.
No, wait a minute here. Matt LaFleur's got the same win percentage as Nick Sirianni, man. I mean, what are you talking about here? Win percentages and wins and such. What are you doing, Godfather? I mean,
Bill Belichick was amazing with Tom Brady.
You're making Nicky Sirianni look a little bit, you're talking about a guy with a 68 win percentage versus a guy with a 700 win percentage. I mean, are you saying that those win percentages don't mean shit? Is that what you're implying?
How great was Belichick with Tom Brady? How good is he now? Let's be honest.
Antonio Pierce goes to South Florida and takes on Miami. How do you see this bad puppy?
The game's up to 14, man. It's a lot of points.
14?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it opened.
I'm taking the Raiders.
It's a lot of. That's what they want you to take. They wanted you to take the Giants last week. I mean, the bookmakers, they're begging for Raiders action here. That line might go. I would have to take 20 on this game to take the dog here. Miami, they're starting to get healthy. I think the running back's back. He's playing. I think they're going to run the ball down their throat. They're going to light them up. I think it's going to be a big game for Miami. I'm not looking to lay the 14 points, but I can see Miami blowing this team out.
Yeah, the librarian, man. He's a good coach, Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni. There's only two other jobs you could have: a CPA and a librarian's job. All right, man. I'm not going to give you Giants in Washington. I don't want to embarrass you. Okay.
I like the Commanders.
You do?
Yeah, they lost last time to them by a touchdown, right? What the Giants beat them? 14-77. Revenge game, division game. I think the Commanders are still playing while the Giants, they know they're done. They're waving the white flag. They surrendered. I think the Commanders got a chance to blow this team out, but I think the sharper bet, a little insurance, is to tease them down. If you can get them at like 2.5 or even 2, I mean that'll be a better bet. But I think the Commanders blow this team's doors off, man.
Now without Watson, dude. Here's another team. Now Pittsburgh gets elevated. And by the way, I have no idea how the Steelers are winning games. Yeah. I mean, Kenny Pickett sucks. Okay. I mean, I have no idea who's quarterbacking in Cleveland. They're talking about RG3 and some of these other dogs like working out and bringing them in and such. But Pittsburgh, here they are, man. Mike Tomlin, just a great coach. Gets his guys ready to play. Hard to believe he's never had a losing record in 18 years.
Yeah.
Is this team – how do you look at the Steelers?
Magic. I mean, he's a magician. He's Houdini this year. Mike Tomlin, they got negative point differential in the season. Their offense is horrible. Nobody's scared of Kenny Pickett. He don't strike fear in anyone's eyes. I don't even know how they beat the Browns the first time around. Their offense didn't even get one offensive, I think, first down in that game. Turnovers have been their friends on the defensive side. But to be honest, I think the Browns are better top to bottom. The roster, I think they're a better team. I think they're going to rally this week. I know Watson went down, but he might come back for the playoffs. There's a shot. Now, does the organization say, all right, we're going to gamble $230 million and let him come back for the playoffs and play with a shot of him getting injured again? I'm not sure, but he'll be ready to play by the playoffs if the Browns get in. I like the Browns here. I mean, the line was 4. At 4, I like the Steelers, division game, but now it went down to a pick 'em. You can probably get them at a pick or -1. I think the Browns win this game. I think they got that kid on a short leash. He's thrown 3 picks on the season, Robinson, in that one game he started. But Walker, he's thrown 5. So, it depends. I think they're going to run the ball down the Steelers' throat. Steelers have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL this year. I think they're ranked 26th.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They can't stop the run this year. So as long as the Browns run the ball, play conservative, don't try and do anything fancy on offense, I think their defense gets the job done. It's a revenge game. I like the Browns here just to win the game.
Number 1 overall defense, I think, too, in the NFL, aren't they?
Yeah.
Here's the best coach the Eagles have had since Andy Reid, Tennessee at Jacksonville. Doug Peterson, they come off a really horrible performance against the 49ers. It is at home. Tennessee, probably going to want to run the ball there with how about this? Did you see this stat here about Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry could become just like the 7th player in NFL history. Here it is right here. Derrick Henry can become just the 8th player to run for 9K and 80 touchdowns in 8 years this weekend. And they're going to Jacksonville. And that's one thing that the Jags have had a little issue with, is stopping the run.
Yeah, and their point differential on the season isn't that great for having such a solid record. Division games, a lot of points, lane 7. It is at home. I mean, public's going to be all over Jacksonville here. I'm not looking to lay 7 points with a team with basically, what are they, +6 point differential on the season. Man, it's hard to take Tennessee, though. The better bet's probably to tease Jacksonville down, time in, maybe laying 1. If the game gets to 7.5, I'll probably look to take Tennessee. Division game plus over a touchdown. It's just a tough game to bet. Tough game.
What a coach, man. That's a coach right there.
That
That ain't
a
a
coach.
librarian. Doug Peterson. That
Both
ain't
good
a
coaches.
librarian.
Vrabel's a good coach, too. Yeah.
Best coach the Eagles have had in a long time. Or, excuse me, the Jags, I should say. I apologize. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. That Niners team, when they got Trent Williams on the field, it's the same impact that Lane Johnson has on the Eagles when the Eagles don't have Lane on the field. They're a completely different ball team. When they have him on the field, that's a super-looking roster.
They're not only a super-looking roster, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl when he's on the field. Right now, they're plus 500. They got better odds than the Eagles, slightly better odds than the Chiefs.
Wait, say that again. The 49ers have better odds to win the Super Bowl this year than Philly.
Yeah, when they're healthy, this is a very, very dangerous team. You see the difference in the numbers in McCaffrey.
I got to write that down.
I mean, Purdy's numbers look better. The whole team's numbers look better when Trent Williams is in the lineup. And they're getting healthy. Eagles better hope the 49ers meet up with the Cowboys in the playoffs, because the Cowboys don't match up good against the 49ers, but they do match up very well against the Eagles. So they better hope the 49ers take care of their business, or else Eagles could be one and done this year. I'm serious.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. See,
like I said last week, Dan.
I don't think the Eagles match up good against the Cowboys in the postseason.
No, they don't. They don't. That's why I said they better not. They better hope they don't meet up with the Cowboys in the postseason. They need the 49ers to beat the Cowboys, or else they could be in trouble. Like I said last week, Cowboys gave the Eagles that game. The Eagles didn't win it.
You know, you have a lot of flag waving Eagle fans in here, man. I mean, how about this thing here? The MILF Hunter versus, boy, I'll tell you, Buffalo, dog. Holy shit, man. They got to win. This is a big game for them. They're at 5-5. They got to win this. And the Jets opened the season by beating them. They got to win this thing, man.
I don't know if they do. Line's what, 7? It's up to 7.
Get this. If you say that, now check it out. Supposedly now, if they win this game, Rodgers is talking about coming back after Thanksgiving.
That's crazy.
And he went, bro, I'll tell you, that would change the entire landscape of the AFC if he can bring anything to the table there.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, they lost the first time around to the Jets, but the Buffalo's a mess. You know, they got scapegoats. They're firing.
Oh, you think they're unraveling?
Yeah, they're firing the wrong people. I mean, they got to fire the head coach.
McDermott needs to go. He sucks.
It's just, and I don't know what's going on with Josh Allen. Is there lingering injuries or something going on in his head? Something's off about this team. I know they're missing a couple guys, are banged up, but still, they should be much better than what their record is. They're down to like 25-1 now. They were one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl to start the season. Now they're, I don't know, maybe 7th or 8th to win the Super Bowl. And like you said, if the Jets can find a way to win this game, and Aaron Rodgers is coming back, watch out. So there might be some value if you're looking to take some Jets futures with him back in the lineup after Thanksgiving. It's at 7. I'm not looking to bet this game. The whole public's going to be on Buffalo. They're all going to tell themselves they can't lose again, and they're not going to lose to the Jets again, but just be very, very weary because that kind of mindset gets you in trouble when you're betting, real money in the NFL.
Seattle at the Rams. McVay's a great coach, but I don't know. And Stafford's playing. Are you buying Seattle this year?
Yes and no. I mean, I think the Rams match up well against them. Line opened up with Seattle being a favorite. Now the Rams are 1-point favorites. Tough game. If gun to my head, I'd probably. Man, it's tough. This is tough. It's right there. The game's a pick 'em, man. It's a coin flip. I'll take. They don't have much of a home field advantage. This is a tough one. I don't know. It's a tough one, damn man. If anything, I'd probably bet the over. I'd go over 46. I'm not looking to bet the side, but I do lean to the Rams a little bit.
How about this thing here? Josh Dobbs is playing well. You got Denver now. If they win this ball game, and because of what we've talked about with all the injuries at the quarterback position in the AFC, Denver would be at 5-5 on the season coming out of this game after 10. Who would have ever thought something like that you could see the Broncos at 5-5, a pretty big game for them and a very interesting ball game. I'll be watching this thing as well because, again, to me, Minnesota is one of the playoff teams on the NFC side that potentially the Eagles could face if they get into the postseason here. How do you look at this thing?
Yeah, the Vikings been red hot. But as we said a few weeks back, if anyone can change this Broncos team, it's Sean Payton, and that's exactly what he's done. He's, this team is starting to play some good football. They're at home. They got a huge home field advantage playing in Denver. The altitude, you got a dome team. Usually when they play in conditions like that, they underperform. But you got that kid. He's an astronaut, right? One of the smartest kids out there playing quarterback for Minnesota. And I bet against him last week, and he burned me. But I think the Broncos get the job done here. Under a field goal, I like Denver -2.5.
Josh Armstrong's playing tonight. Okay, he's an astronaut. Neil Armstrong, Josh Dobbs, Neil Armstrong's kid playing tonight.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? That kid was on every channel. I must have seen him do 20 different interviews, and I'm telling myself, that's not a good sign. And, he just got there, and he's still, the kid went out there and just killed it. Killed it. He was exceptional.
Yeah. For a guy that got the playbook 5 minutes prior to the game, I couldn't believe it. Some college games for you. Tonight, Colorado, Washington State.
Oh, this was a tough one. I know both teams have been Washington State lost, 6 in a row? I think they started off 4-0 with some quality wins over a couple of teams, and they lost 6 straight. Washington State has. And Colorado's, 1-7 in the last 8. But Colorado's they're still hanging around. Their last 4 or 5 games, it's come down to one possession. While Washington State, I think they've given up on the season. Before the season started, Washington State's projected win total was higher than Colorado's, but now they both have just 4 wins on the season. I think the game's a coin flip. They're giving me 4.5 points on Colorado. I didn't. I guess I like Colorado plus the 4.5 here.
OU BYU.
I didn't even bet the game.
Okay, move on.
Didn't bet the game.
Utah, Arizona.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. Arizona, as long as Arizona doesn't.
I told you, Arizona's a fun team to watch, aren't they? Jed Fish has done a great job at turning that mess around. They're a fun team to watch. I told you, Philly, that Arizona team, they're on the way back.
Yeah, no, they're good, man. And they lost 2 games in overtime this year. They're probably the better team. Utah's offense has struggled this season. But like I said, as long as Arizona doesn't turn the ball over, I think they win this game. I think they cover the spread. I like Arizona.
Georgia at Tennessee. I don't think Georgia. Do you agree? Georgia doesn't look to me to be as good as the last 2 years that they've had. You're going through a repeat or a three-peat actually, and no team since like those Army teams, I think, that has done that. Right back when you were like running the wing T with Doc Blanchard and them guys, and George Patton was like the head coach. I'm like, they haven't seen anybody go for 3 in a row here. So this is pretty remarkable. And what they're doing is they're in the midst of an incredible run, and no one's talking about it enough. But that Georgia team looks very vulnerable. I watched them last week and 2 weeks ago. They look beatable.
Yeah, I thought that too. And I took the plus 11 on the dog last week, and they blew them out 52-17. So I was on the wrong side of that one. You got basically the same point spread this week, except that one team's at home. I kind of like Tennessee. I think over 10 points. If you can grab 10.5 on Tennessee, I think they can hang around in this one, man. They played Alabama tough. Turnovers cost them a couple games this season. They can still put up some points. That's a big number, man. I like Tennessee plus the 10.5.
What do you make of this Harbaugh stuff?
I think it was, they didn't do their due diligence. Let's be honest. They suspend. I don't know. It seems like someone's got to,
No, here's the story. There's an alum that has ties to the Vikings, and he didn't like how Harbaugh treated Ziggy Wilf and how the interview process went. And so what he did was he turned around and took it out on Harbaugh, and he's taken a gigantic shit on him, and he has put everything out there, Jim's this and that, and people have been rifling all kinds of intel. And like I said, the rule, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Seriously, if you want to talk about a Big Ten conference that mishandled COVID-19, now they're mishandling this thing here. They're starting this season and shit. You talk about a woke conference.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is the prime example of this bullshit.
And guess what? It might end up working against them because the kids are rallying around Harbaugh, the coaches, the fans.
You see that kid with the blood in his and the coach crying and shit. I loved it.
What a football player. So this might work against him. Being vindictive like that is never a good thing. It's bad karma. And
you know what I don't get to is that you're going to get $20 million if they make it to the Final Four, and they have to split it with all the teams in the conference.
Yeah.
Why are you shitting on something that will help you make more money for your entire body of teams? And you're like self-imposing things on yourself to hurt yourself, make economic money for everyone. You think, like, here's the point. You think they would ever suspend Jim or Nick Saban in the SEC for shit like this?
No, absolutely not. And, like you said, some people are just vindictive, but guess what? They're still 4.5-point favorites against Ohio State last game of the season. That line hasn't moved, even though Harbaugh's not on the field. And everyone's rallying around him. So this it kind of reminds me when the Eagles lost Wentz, and they had the masks on, and they were hungry dogs, and it motivated that team. And I think, you see every kid tweeting out, bet, bet, bet. And then you see Tom Brady tweet out, bet on his Twitter account. So it's rallying everyone around this team. And as of right now, they're the favorite to win the college football championships ahead of Georgia. So, they're a good team. Even though I like Maryland this week, plus 21, just so you know.
Oh, wow. You're going to take Maryland in number. Okay.
Plus 21.
UCLA, USC. By the way, get this. There's a report that Chip Kelly could have his ass fired if no matter what he does in this game. And you're going to have to help me out on this. I didn't know UCLA was a football power. I mean, that's a basketball school. And I'm not sure what they were expecting out of Chip Kelly to go into UCLA. I mean, someone's going to have to click back and let me know when the last time they were in a national championship picture. I don't remember that. Yeah. And they may be blowing him out. And then you got Lincoln Riley on the other side who's completely lost the entire alumni base. How do you see this thing? This is a train wreck game.
Yeah, it's a little weird. The game opened up 6. It's down to 4.5 in some spots. USC's, 4.5 point favorite. Total's basically painted like 64, so they're expecting some points here. I didn't bet the side. If I was going to bet UCLA, I need at least 7 points here. If anything, if the number starts creeping even lower, if it gets down to 3.5, I might buy the 0.5 point and just take USC -3.
Finally, here, I think this is an undercover game. Washington at Oregon State. Oregon State's a good football team. That kid EJ that came over from Clemson has changed the landscape of that football program. They look good. Coach Smith has done a nice job, dare I say, with the Beaver.
Yeah, and they were 1 point favorites when this line opened up. Oregon State went as high as being a 2.5 point favorite. Now it's back down to 2, 1.5. So there's some sharp money on Oregon State. And if you look at the odds to make the playoffs, Washington is now behind Oregon. Oregon's the favorite out of the Pac-12 to make the playoffs. So something's going on here. There's some sharp money on Oregon State. I think Oregon State wins this game.
The man that chose KC, or he's waiting for the weather on Monday, but right? Waiting for the weather.
I mean, it changes the dynamic of how the game's played. If they got some high winds,
but you think it's that close?
I might take the Birds. You might see me tweeting out, "Go Birds this week. Go Birds, baby."
Tell the folks how they can find you, my good friend.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. Stop by my website, thephillygodfather.com. And we have our show every Thursday night on JAKIB YouTube, Sirius XM, Sports Grid TV, and we live stream it on my Twitter account at Philly Godfather. College football 1 hour show, NFL 1 hour show. We've had you on. You're coming back on soon. Love you, Dan. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Keep throwing hooks, dog. That's my man, Philly Godfather, man. I love talking to him each and every single Friday at 5:30. I thank you guys so much. I know we're getting closer. We're getting closer and closer. Okay. Look at Tone, man. Tone's got like fire starters in his hand right now. They're just his hands. He's getting ready, man. He's throwing punches, still going, I can't wait to get a hold of you, Sileo, on Monday, man. I'm going to get your ass and put you in a headlock and throw you down. You're going to think I'm Draymond Green. I'm Rudy Gobert, and he's Draymond. Have a great weekend, everybody. Please hit the like button. Thank you so much for what you did. Xander, thank you. Big Joe, thank you. Monday, don't forget 2 to 6. Tone, thank you. We'll see you on the flip side.
Football and Hooters, the perfect